Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. So kita akan proceed with our chapter 2 for BWJ 32003 Plant Physiology. Chapter 2 is all about photosynthesis. Okay, so as I've mentioned to you last week, photosynthesis ni is the most essential, critical, crucial, important process for plants, ya. Jadi dia sangat besar chapter ni, so I don't think we can cover it in one session. Apatah lagi dengan kita punya video for today. Okay, so today what I'm gonna give to you is the overview, okay, of what photosynthesis is about. Okay, so I've created you this summary. So it summarizes everything that you need to know and everything that we are going to learn in this chapter all about photosynthesis. Okay, so first of all, photosynthesis, we have to know the general formula. Like it or not, you suka chemistry ke tidak, you suka tengok apa formula semua ke tidak ke, you have to know this, yeah. Okay, so general formula, it involves the carbon dioxide and water, and with the addition of light, it will convert into carbohydrate and also oxygen. Okay, so daripada general formula ni kita dah tahu macam-macam. It tells us a lot. Meaning when we need carbon dioxide it comes from the byproduct of the human respiration. And apabila the product of photosynthesis is oxygen, where it is needed, the feeder of human respiration. And that tells us that photosynthesis in plants and respiration in human, they are related to each other and we need each other. We complement each other. Okay. Kemudian, from these two, carbon dioxide and water, kita boleh tahu on how to measure the photosynthesis. Okay, nanti kita akan cakap lagi. Next, for photosynthesis, as we know, it happens in the visible spectrum. Okay, so sunlight tu dia ada pelbagai sangat spektrum dia. Okay, jadi for photosynthesis, it happens in the visible light, where dia punya wavelength is between 400 to 700 nanometer. Okay, so in this visible light punya spectrum, these are the colors: violet, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. How to remember this? Saya dah createkan yang ni lah, but it is entirely up to you nak gunakan mnemonics apa. So for example, very big giant yelling on road. So kita tahulah very big giant yelling on road, meaning that is the violet, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, and that is dia punya susunan for colors on the visible spectrum. Next one is one of the most important structures in the plant, where it assists in capturing the light for photosynthesis, which are the chlorophylls. Okay, so chlorophylls ni, ini adalah dia punya structure-nya lah dekat dalam thylakoid. So that's the thylakoid membrane and this is the granum. Okay, kita akan belajar lebih lagi. Okay, now, it's inevitable when we talk about photosynthesis, we will encounter light dependent and also light independent. So in light dependent reaction, nama pun light dependent, meaning that it needs the light. It depends on the light. So this reaction, untuk light dependent, we have three process: NADPH production, O2 production, which we also call it as photolysis, and also ATP production. So that is the light dependent reaction. Okay, next one is the light independent reaction. Okay, so from the name itself pun, maknanya it doesn't need light, it doesn't depend on light. Okay, jadi the process ataupun the reaction that occurs in the light independent reaction is the Calvin cycle. And Calvin cycle tu dia ada tiga process. 3 fasa. Carbon fixation phase, the reduction phase, and also the regeneration phase. Yeah. And the last one, inilah yang kita cakap tadi. From the general formula, we can know how to measure the photosynthesis. So we can measure on the CO2 absorption, on the O2 production, on the biomass, on the water production as well. So daripada 4 molekul yang diperlukan tadi, carbon dioxide, water, carbohydrate and also oxygen, daripada situ we can measure the photosynthesis. Yeah. Okay, so kita akan tengok secara overview lah photosynthesis tu apa. So briefly, photosynthesis is a process that converts the sunlight that it receives through chlorophyll and during the process inside plants, it will convert into the chemical energy. And it is a very complex reaction because at the same time of this happening, other processes are happening as well, and that fits to each other processes. So that's why it's very complex. Because photosynthesis ni kan, it is a process for growth and development. So kalau macam manusia pun, our growth and development dia kan bergantung kepada pelbagai proses inside our body. If one process fails, it will affect other process as well. Okay, so sama juga for plants. If contohnya ATP production punya reaction fails, it will affect proses yang lain, for example photosynthesis. Okay, so this is the general formula again. Carbon dioxide and water, it will give out the carbohydrates and also oxygen. Okay, so this is the wavelength, the visible spectrum that we talk about, and we have to remember, the shorter the wavelength, the higher the frequency, the higher the energy. Okay, dia terbalik. Kalau wavelength tu 400, so dengan wavelength yang 700, so wavelength yang 400 tu sebenarnya frekuensi dia lagi tinggi and the energy is higher than the 700 nanometer. Okay. So sunlight ni sebenarnya, it is also called the white light. Okay. Tapi disebabkan proses pembiasan itulah during the visible spectrum tu, then inilah visible spectrum tu tadi. So tadi kita ada sebutlah is between 400 to 700 nm kan. But dia more or less lah plus minus. Macam kalau kat sini kan dia tunjuk 380 to 750 nanometer. But again dia punya color dia tu tak berubah. Okay. So is very big, giant, yelling on road. If you still remember that. Okay, so chlorophyll is the most photosynthetic pigment. It's undeniable. Apa-apa soalan pun kalau photosynthesis, mesti akan tanya pasal chlorophyll. So if we want to know, if we want to maximize photosynthesis process dekat dalam plants tu, that it must have something to do with the chlorophylls. So there are 2 types of chlorophyll. Sebenarnya ada banyak types of chlorophyll. Dia ada A, B, C, D, E. Okay? Tetapi the main types of chlorophyll that involves directly in the photosynthesis process is chlorophyll A and the chlorophyll B. Okay, so cuba kita tengok tu. Green is the least effective color for photosynthesis because it is reflected. So sebenarnya bila kita tengok color daun tu kan. Sini saya ada contoh lah. Daun ni ni pokok saya kat tepi ni. Okay. So we can see that the leaves are green. So kita kata sebenarnya it has something to do with the color of the chlorophyll. Tapi sebenarnya that is the color that yang reflected lah. Okay, so that's not the color of the chlorophylls. Red and blue are most effective for photosynthesis. Yes, sebenarnya color red and blue are most effective for photosynthesis. In fact, kalau kita cuba cari research paper dekat dalam internet tu, memang diorang ada tanam pokok and they use different colours kepada different plants ni, and evidently memang kalau plants tu dia receive red colour and blue colour, dia punya photosynthesis dia lagi tinggi daripada kawan-kawan dia yang lain. Okay, now for spectrums kita ada dua, kita ada absorption spectrums and also action spectrums. Okay, kita akan tengok satu dulu. Absorption spectrums is this one lah, yang graph tu tadi, and graph ni dan dia sebenarnya it plot the pigments light absorption versus the wavelength. Okay, jadi yang x-axis tu adalah dia punya wavelength. Okay, yang wavelength tu adalah yang menunjukkan dia punya colour lah, yang very big giant yelling on road, dia punya visible spectrum. Y-axis is the absorbance. Okay, jadi kita boleh tengok dekat sini, chlorophyll B yang line warna merah tu, dia punya peak highest dekat wavelength with the colour of blue. Okay, and then for chlorophyll A yang with the green line tu, green colour tu, the highest peak is located at the wavelength with the colour of red. So remember tadi kita kata sebenarnya for photosynthesis yang blue colour and also the red colour dia akan lagi tinggikan photosynthesis. And it is proven lah dekat dalam absorption spectrums ni. Okay, now the second spectrum is the action spectrum. Okay, macam dekat gambar dekat bawah tu. Ni tak tunjuk tu. Sini. Tu. Okay, boleh pula main. Okay, so action spectrum tu, it shows how much photosynthesis is occurring at each wavelength. Okay, sebelum tu saya lupa nak tunjuk. Now, dekat absorption spectrum tu, if you see, okay, sebelum ni kita go back to this slide. Okay, yang dia kata green is the least effective colour for photosynthesis. Maksudnya yang green colour dekat visible tu, dia sebenarnya tak membantu langsung kepada photosynthesis. So at green colour, that is the minimum for photosynthesis. And kita boleh tengok kat sini juga. Okay, kalau colour kat sini green, tengok chlorophyll B pun rendah, chlorophyll A pun rendah. So nak kuat lagi, kita tengok dekat action spectrum. Sebab action spectrum ni ditunjuk terus rate of photosynthesis. And kita tengok dekat green colour, memang sangat rendah berbanding dengan this is blue and this is red. Okay, so it is proven there. Okay, so this is the comparison of absorption and action spectra. Jadi kita hanya remember lah, absorption spectrum ni dia sebenarnya it tells us dia punya absorption highest dekat wavelength yang mana. Kalau yang action spectrum ni dia tunjuk dekat kita rate of photosynthesis dekat wavelength yang mana. So daripada sini memang kita buat conclusion dekat absorption spectrum ni almost no absorption at green wavelength. So tak ada langsung apa-apa yang diabsorb apabila kita berikan green wavelength. Maknanya the chlorophyll tu they do not absorb yang green colour tu, but instead dia reflectkan green wavelength tu. So that's why chlorophyll tu kita nampak warna hijau and leaf tu pun kita nampak warna hijau. So sama juga macam dekat sini, the photosynthetic rate is very low at green wavelength in comparison to the blue and red wavelength.